And now let me bring in Senator John McCain. Welcome again.
Thank you, George.
You just heard General Jones. Let's pick up right there. Does President Obama have to say quite clearly to Prime Minister Netanyahu, we've got to begin with a two-state solution?
Well, I think that it's been previous policy and the previous Israeli governments. We respect the results of a democratic process, and the fact is that I think that we have to push the entire peace process forward, but I'm not sure the timing is right now with a new government in Israel for us to dictate to them their policy. But I applaud the Obama administration's renewed efforts to try and move this process forward.
Let me also ask you about Guantanamo. You saw that the General and I talked about that, and you and President Obama share the same goal. You both say that Guantanamo should be closed. You and the President share the same goal on the enhanced interrogation techniques. Yet, especially on Guantanamo right now, it appears that there has been rising opposition to the Congress, to this, what appears to be a necessity, that some of these detainees are going to have to come to the United States. So how do you work with President Obama to meet the goal that you both have set?
Well, I don't know how you walk it back to the initial announcement. To announce you're going to close Guantanamo within a year and not have a comprehensive package for how you address these issues that understandably have arisen. I mean, well, what do you do? What kind of process do you put the people through remaining? How do you ensure that they don't return to the battlefield, as about 10% of them have, including some very high-ranking people? What should have taken place, in my view, was the announcement of the closing and an announcement of exactly how we're going to put these people on trial. The Military Commissions Act that Senator Graham and I originally proposed is clearly what they are returning to. Where you're going to put the people that are enemy combatants, that you don't have enough information to convict them, but it's clear
that's
that you
key
can't put them
group
back
of 50 to 100 that are probably going to have to come and be detained here in the United States, correct?
I don't know what they're going to do.
Would you be opposed to that?
I would certainly be, well, I don't know if I would be, quote, opposed to it, because I would probably want to judge them on a case-by-case basis. I understand the local objection and senators and congressmen objection to saying, here's some people that we're just going to dump onto the community. So, but we could have avoided all this if there had been an announcement of the closure of Guantanamo and the process for resolving the cases of people who are detained there. Whether you release them, whether you ask other countries to take them, what the process for trial is, what the process of those that you just discussed who are, quote, enemy combatants, but you can't convict. That is a terrible mistake. Announce the closure, but don't address the underlying problems that a lot of us have been wrestling with for years.
So, but how do you fix it now?
I would say I'm not going to close Guantanamo until I have a comprehensive approach to every aspect of this problem of the detainees. How you put them on trial, who tries them, what are the rules of evidence, what's the case of interrogation techniques that were used, at which time that evidence would be admissible. There's a whole series subset of issues.
You're no longer foreclosing.
I'm foreclosing Guantanamo, and I said I was foreclosing it, but I'm for a comprehensive solution of all the issues surrounding Guantanamo, which now obviously are facing serious roadblocks in Congress because the announcement was made without addressing the underlying problems associated.
So relax the deadline, no January deadline?
I would relax. I said I wanted to close Guantanamo, but I also said I wanted to address all the issues. So I never set a deadline. But no, I wouldn't set a specific date until I had resolved all the issues surrounding the detainee question, including a military commission that would be appointed and authorized to address some of these cases.
How about this issue of don't ask, don't tell? It's now been bedeviling the military for 15, 16 years right now. Growing support to reform the policy. More than 100 members of Congress say it should be reformed. Former Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, like General Shalikashvili, have said it should be reformed. Where are you on that today, and how would you reform the policy, if at all?
Again, I've said for months, I'll be glad to have a thorough review of the policy by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and their recommendations. You might recall it was General Powell who weighed in back early on in the Clinton administration that said we need to have this policy, and it's been successful. We now have the best trained, best equipped, most professional military in the history of this country, in my view. So I would rely on a study by the Joint Chiefs of Staff as how the impact of changing this policy would have on our ability to carry out our military missions, and then I would make judgments from there. But in all due respect, right now the military is functioning extremely well in very difficult conditions. We have to have an assessment on recruitment, on retention, and all the other aspects of the impact on our military if we change the policy. In my view, and I know that a lot of people don't agree with that, the policy has been working, and I think it's been working well.
Let me ask you about your party. Not working. Not working well. As well. You've got this Time magazine cover this week saying endangered species, the Republicans. Is the party an endangered species?
I probably would not go to that lengths. We all work in cycles. For many years, we have seen parties down and parties up. That's the great thing about American politics. But having said that, do we have to do a better job of getting our message out? Do we have to do a better job recruiting candidates? Do we have to do a better job of outreach to many Americans that don't feel that they can be part of our party? Absolutely. Absolutely. In this conversation that Eric Cantor, which some have criticized and others have begun, I think it's a great thing. Why not have a conversation with the American people? Find out what they want.
Vice President Cheney's been part of that conversation as well, and he's been saying that the party should not moderate. Here's what he said this week.
I think it'd be a mistake for us to moderate. The idea that we ought to moderate basically means we ought to fundamentally change our philosophy. And I, for one, am not prepared to do that, and I think most of us aren't.
I think we're kind of in a word game here. I don't want to moderate either. I think our policies, the principles of our party are as viable today as they have in the past. In all due respect, the previous administration, by letting spending getting completely out of control, by betraying some of those principles of our party, cost us a couple of elections. And maybe I didn't do a good enough job communicating with the American people. But we have to improve our outreach and our communication, and that doesn't mean betray of principles. I think maybe it means that adjusting to the 21st century in communications, in values, in goals, in all the things that American people want. But
some of your closest associates say it's more than a communications problem. Your former campaign manager, Steve Schmidt, came out and said unless the party has a more live and let live philosophy on issues like gay rights and on gay marriage, your own daughter has taken the same position, you're not going to be able to attract especially the younger generation.
I think we have to be an inclusive party. That does not mean betrayal of fundamental principles. One of the fundamental principles of the Republican parties is to, as much as possible, to let people lead their own lives without government interference in their lives, to go as far as their hopes and dreams and aspirations will take them. We have to understand that maybe a candidate that can win in one part of our country, like the South, may not be able to get elected in Pennsylvania. And local needs and local issues are important, but fundamental principles can be articulated. I believe America is a right-of-center nation. I believe the Republican Party is a right-of-center party. We have to get in sync with the American people. Does that mean
more toleration of those who believe that women should have the right to an abortion, of those who believe that gays and lesbians should have full civil rights?
It means that we can have people in our party who do not have the same views on specific issues as long as we share common principles. Now, I don't agree with my daughter on specific issues. I still love my daughter and I respect her views, and I think there's a place for her in the Republican Party. I do. I think we've got to broaden enlarge our tent, and at the same time stick to our fundamental principles, which are right of center. And it's not that hard, I don't think, except that we got to do a better job of saying, for example, Hispanic voters in my state and in the Southwest, they're pro-life, small business, low taxes, patriotic, etc. We should be able to get a lot more Hispanic participation in the Republican Party.
Well, Senator, thank you very much. We'll see if it happens in the future. You mentioned your daughter. Let me also wish a happy Mother's Day to your mom, Roberta, 97, still going strong. She's going back to Europe again in the fall.
Thanks, she is, and she's incredibly active. It's great to be with you, George.
Good to see you, Senator.
Thank you.
The Roundtable is next with George Will, Cokie Roberts, Sam Donaldson, and Rob Reich. And later, the Sunday Funnies.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos, brought